So I don't really do kind of reaction videos, but I wanted to jump on here and talk about something that I just recently saw online. And I decided to do it here at home because I don't want to do it from my church. And I'm in regular clothes. I'm not wearing my clerical collar because I don't want to speak to you as somebody who kind of leads a church, who is a priest, or someone who is trained in theology and spirituality, or who has a doctorate degree and all this kind of stuff. I want to talk to you as a Christian, as somebody who loves Jesus and who wants to live their lives as close to Jesus as possibly can. As somebody who is also involved on social media, one of the things that I've seen is that social media is filled with people attempting to teach spiritual doctrines to the masses. And they're all out there. You can find tons of pages and accounts about this. And because there's so many, it becomes difficult to discern who do we pay attention to. One video that I just recently came across had this self-proclaimed Bible teacher, it's in their name, the head of some sort of ministry who preaches at a church, describe what qualifies someone to be a teacher of the Bible, to be a Bible teacher. And this is what they said. Being a Bible teacher isn't about speaking eloquently. It's not about being humorous. It's not about being socially popular. Those aren't things which qualify someone to be a biblical teacher. Wonderful, great. Instead, here was the criteria that they put out. What qualifies someone to be a biblical teacher was someone had to have hands-on ministry service, so they had to serve in hands-on ministry. Someone who would spend each day prayerfully in the Word. Someone who was affirmed by others. I don't know how you would figure that out beyond being popular, but someone who was affirmed by others. Someone who submits to the authority, training, and mentorship of another. Okay, that's kind of undefined. We don't really know what that means. And someone who loves beyond reproach. Now, all of those things are well and good, and I don't really take issue with any of those. But do you know what's not on the list? Education. Why doesn't this person list any type of biblical or theological education or degree as something that qualifies someone to teach the Bible, to be a Bible teacher? Now, I'm not suggesting someone has to have a doctorate degree, but surely if we are going to invest in someone and give them the ability to pronounce biblical or theological truths about our lives, surely the fact that they've spent some adequate time learning and growing in their knowledge in some formal or even scholastic way would be appropriate. And because we don't stand for this in other areas, right? We want qualified teachers to teach our children. We don't send them simply to anybody who loves children, who spends time with children, or who has a passion for children. No, we want someone who is educated. We want someone who has taken the time and taken the effort to learn the skills necessary to navigate the complex issues related to educating children. And we do the same thing with medical stuff, with legal stuff, with musical stuff, with technical things. We search out the people who are educated in the very field where we feel that we need help or we need some assistance. Again, I think we have to wonder, why isn't education on this person's list? Why didn't they say at the top of the list what qualifies someone to be a biblical teacher is that they are educated, that they have a degree from some theological school. And again, it doesn't have to be a doctorate. It doesn't have to be, the most highly scholastic person out there. It could be a certificate of biblical theology from some Bible school somewhere. But why isn't any sort of credentials on there? Why wasn't there any mention of theological school or certificate in biblical studies? Why, when it comes to our life with God, do we assume that any person who is charismatic or who has a large following is apt to teach us the things about God? Why do we assume that if someone has read the Bible once or twice, they know all the ins and outs? Because I can tell you they haven't. The Bible is a complex book. It is a unified text that was written over multiple generations in multiple languages by multiple people. Don't we want to learn from someone who has been educated about the complex issues related to translation and interpretation and theological reflection? For example, this same Bible teacher, because I went down the rabbit hole of their social media page, the same Bible person put out another video where they talked about the different translations of Scripture and what we should look for. The best word-for-word translation of the Bible, according to them, was the King James Version. It topped the list. Guess what? Anybody who has spent any time in theological or biblical classrooms will know that the King James Version is not the best word-for-word translation of the ancient text. Now, I'm not saying it's bad, but it takes liberties. And it takes liberties to be poetic and to maintain its distinctive style and the style that we know and love. So if this teacher is faulty on this simple bit of biblical knowledge, on what other parts might they be mistaken about? Now, it's true, education isn't all that it's about. People can study the Bible in a formal setting, they can have a degree, and they can still be a horrible and faithless teacher. But you know what? People can read the Bible every day and still be faithless. Here's the thing. Education provides guardrails. Education means that the person has learned some basic things about the Bible, which can aid in people's lives. So if, during this next new year, your goal is to grow your faith, and if one of the ways that you want to do this is through following certain people on social media, then please do your diligence and ascertain their credentials. You know, it's one thing to journey along with someone whose devotional life seems to mirror yours and whose reflections on their devotional life seems to aid you. That's fabulous. We should all talk about our faith so that we can encourage others. But the letter of James says we should be wary of calling ourselves teachers. And so when we come across anybody who defines themselves in that way, we should take a step back and we should ask if they have any formal theological or biblical education. Is their ministry tied to some overarching denominational structure which provides leadership and oversight? Because our spiritual life and our walk with Jesus is far too important to just trust to anybody. God bless you all.